Welcome back. Today we're going to finish up the Siege of Boston. We've talked about this for the last couple sessions, and today will be the last time we talk about it. So as we left, we had the Battle of Bunker Hill, had a siege by the colonists, keeping the British out. The British still remained in Boston and on board all of their ships. Right after the Battle of Bunker Hill, George Washington arrived in July of 1775, took over the troops and started training them. He was upset in their condition. They weren't very well trained. He was also briefed by the leadership that there was very little gunpowder, very few cannons, and he didn't know what to do. He really wanted the British out of Boston. That was his goal, was to get the British out of Boston. He had proposed several plans of going into Boston and chasing the British out. He really had no way to get the ships out, and they being collectively were fearful that the British would just burn Boston, and they didn't want that to happen. So a few months earlier, in the beginning of June, Benedict Arnold was commissioned a colonel and sent to Ticonderoga to see if they could take Fort Ticonderoga, which is on Lake Champlain in New York, about 300 miles away, and secure the cannons and stuff that were in the fort. He did this in conjunction with Ethan Allen and the Green Mountain Boys, and both of those Arnold and Allen we'll talk about later. They actually took the fort one morning with no shots being fired and no casualties. They commandeered over 50,000 tons of cannon and ammunition and stuff, but they did not bring it back with them. They just left it there. The fort was manned by a small group of militia. So over the fall of 1775, they were trying to figure out how to get those cannons back. A little known a guy, wasn't even a commissioned officer, by the name of Henry Knox, was a bookstore owner in Boston, and he had an idea. So he went to Washington and he said, don't bring them back on wagons, because winter was setting in. This was now November. Winter was setting in the Berkshires. He said use sleds like Attila the Hun did, and he was well versed. He was commissioned, sent to Fort Ticonderoga in early December, and miraculously made the trip back in mid-January. 50,000 tons of munitions and cannons and stuff. Everybody was amazed. We're going to talk about Henry Knox. As my followers up in the Berkshires, Mr. Griffin's class at the Bart School will attest that the mountains in the Berkshire are steep. So anyway, so now Washington has cannons, he has gunpowder, and he's ready. So Dorchester Heights is another high hill that overlooks Boston and also gives him reach to the British ships. So in March, he has everything that he needs. He sets up cannons over in Dorchester, one in Roxbury over here, and one in Dorchester over here. And he tells the people, I want you to start firing. Try not to hit anything, but just start firing. And he does this as camouflage. And all the cannon sounds, and the British are firing back, are masking the sound of Washington's troops building their fortifications along Dorchester Heights down here. And so they build for 2 days. Every night the cannons go off and the British fire back, and the cannons go off. Everybody's happy. These guys are building away. On the morning of the 4th of March, all the cannons are in place. George Washington goes up and personally fires one shot. It goes right out towards Boston, right into the fleet. The British wake up, and here they look, and they see that Dorchester Heights is just one massive of all militia. Now, General Howe, who was somewhat successful at Charlestown and Bunker Hill, he looks up and he says, we can't have a repeat of Bunker Hill. If we do, we're going to lose the war. So Washington sends a message to General Howe and he says, you have 24 hours with which to vacate Boston. General Howe writes back, says, ask permission to have 2 weeks. And Washington, fearing that if he doesn't give them the 2 weeks, they're just going to burn Boston on the way out of town. So he says, okay, you have 2 weeks with to leave and never come back. So what happens is Howe then gets all of his troops out of Boston, gets all his supplies out of Boston, and he takes the Loyalists. Now, the Loyalist is a new term we haven't talked about. They were the people that were born and raised here in America, but they were loyal to the crown, and so they were called Loyalists. And so he took as many Loyalists as he possibly could, and on March the 17th in 1776, he leaves with all of his fleet and he goes to Nova Scotia. Okay, so the siege of Boston has ended. We're finally out of Boston. As far as talking about it, our next trip will be a couple of people that are of importance. Washington understands that Boston was never really where Britain wanted to be. They want to be in New York City, much more strategically located. And so he fears that although the British have left here, they're going to show up in New York. He almost immediately gets his troops, puts them on the march, and they march down to New York City. And we'll talk all about the Battle of New York City very shortly. So there you have it. The siege of Boston has now ended, and we're moving south. We're going south. So I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good day.